Good evening. Tonight's meeting of the Nassau County Planning and Zoning Board is now called to order for September 2nd, 2025. Copies of tonight's agenda are available at the media table. If you're in need of agenda, please come forward and obtain a copy at this time. If not, if everyone would please stand for our invocation from Board Member Morris, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we come to you this evening thanking you for this beautiful day that you've given us and the fact that you have brought us each and every one of us here safely. And Father, we ask that during the course of this evening that you would be with us as we conduct our deliberations and our business. Lord, may all that we do and all that we say reflect exactly what you expect us to do and expect us to say. These things we ask in thy name. Amen.
Amen.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Board Member Henson.
Here.
Board Member Fendig.
Present.
Board Member Morris.
Here.
Board Member Flick.
Here.
Board Member Brantley.
Here.
Chair Blue.
Here.
Absent is Chair Member Erickson.
Tabs A through C are legislative hearings. At this time, we'll ask that our county attorney please read those procedures.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As stated, tabs A through C are legislative items. These procedures are in place to give all who wish to speak for or against an item the opportunity to do so. Those wishing to speak in favor of or against the item being considered will have 3 minutes to address the board. All statements should be addressed to the board and only the item under consideration. Speakers should not engage in personal attacks on other speakers, staff, or board members. Speakers must begin by stating their name and address for the record. Speakers should not be repetitive or restate the same information as previous speakers. Sharing or transferring of time is not allowed. The clerk will control the time allocated. Again, that is 3 minutes. Any speaker that has documents as a part of their presentation should present them to the deputy clerk. They will become part of the permanent record. The meeting is being recorded, so please no applause or outburst or talking, as it does distort the recording. The board will then close the public hearing and discuss the item under consideration. They may ask questions of speakers or staff. The board will then deliberate and vote on the item. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. The floor is now open for tab A, CPA 25-006. We'll ask for staff presentation at this time.
Good evening, Planning and Zoning Board members. I'm Elizabeth Back, the Planning Director for the Planning Department. And let me just get this presentation started. We'll have this item and the next two items are comprehensive plan amendments to correct the mismatches between the zoning and the underlying land use. This first one is CPA 25-006. The applicant is First Federal Bank, and Nassau County is acting as the agent and sponsoring this item and the next two as well. They're all in Commission District 3. This one is a future land use amendment. The property is approximately 0.92 acres in size, and they're seeking to go from industrial underlying land use to commercial. As you'll see here in the map, this is the parcel outlined in red at the intersection of Chester Road on the north and State Road 200 to the south. As you'll see on the map to the left, you can see that cross hatching. That's the coloration for the industrial underlying land use. And then on the right, you can see here outlined in red as well, the zoning of commercial intensive CI, which is proposed to remain as it is. And they're seeking to move from that industrial to the commercial land use. We We have several items in terms of review for consistency with the comprehensive plan per policy FL.01.04. The property would promote commercial development in an area that has similar uses along State Road 200 and Chester Road. This item, required buffers are required. The property is currently developed, so unless they redevelop, we wouldn't be looking at additional buffers for this. The property is not located within a special flood hazard area. There don't appear to be wetlands on the site. In terms of availability of public facilities, they are in a busy location, that intersection of State Road 200 and Chester Road. They do have access via these state and county maintained roadways. And as I said, the site is already developed. Water and sewer are available to the site. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but basically we are expecting population growth, and it supports this need for non-residential services to support this population growth. So in conclusion, staff does find that the requested amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan, including policy FL.01.02C. The adopted criteria for approval for future land use map amendments is met. Staff is recommending approval of this application, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Question, was this property originally part of the PUD for the Tradeplex many moons ago? And were there any restrictions that came with that PUD that would prevent us from doing this act?
They are not within the PUD at this time, unless there's something you know of about the zoning map. It's showing it as commercial intensive, and the properties in green to the east and south as being as part of the PUD. But if there's something that you know about, I'd certainly love to hear it, because,
Yeah, I think
accidents happen, mistakes are made. I can certainly research if there's something you know about the zoning map.
Through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
It is not a part of the PUD and was not. There was an agreement between this property and the property owners of the PUD property behind it on egress and ingress. This I know because they also recently had a dispute over that particular agreement. It's the only reason I am aware that this property is not part of the PUD.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when this came before me and way back when, and the Slayman Brothers and that development,
Yeah.
this was already there and separate.
So it had already been extracted out, because I think it was.
It was
in the
there
original.
pre-existing the approval of the PUD, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so it got extracted out. I couldn't remember if it got extracted officially
Yeah.
or not, but it obviously did, or it wouldn't be like this. No questions, that was all I was trying to
Okay.
refresh myself.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? There are no public comment cards. Any further board questions for staff? If not, the floor is closed for tab A. If there's not any board deliberation, we'll entertain a motion to approve or deny tab A.
Through the chair, based on the record of evidence, testimony received, to find the plan amendment is consistent with policy FL.01.02C, policy FL.01.04A through G of the comprehensive plan. Therefore, my motion is to recommend approval of CPA 25-006.
Motion by Board Member Fending, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Henson. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Floor is now open for tab B, CPA 25-007. Staff presentation at this time.
Sorry. All right, Elizabeth back again with the Planning Department. Like the last case you just heard, this is similarly fixing a mismatch between the zoning and the underlying land use. This one is approximately 18.37 acres, and they're seeking to move from medium-density residential, or MDR, and commercial to fully commercial. Owner applicant is FKP Ltd., and Nassau County is also the agent and sponsor for this. This is in Commission District 3 as well. Uniquely shaped parcel here, south of State Road 200 on the east side of US Highway 17. You see on the left-hand side how the frontage of the parcel is primarily commercial, with the eastern portion being the MDR. On the right-hand side, you'll see that the zoning is presently commercial intensive, CI, and is proposed to remain as such. So this property would promote higher intensity development in an area with similar intensive uses. It's quite an eclectic area. You have things like a vehicle sale and repair business, vacant commercial, offices, retail, motel, light industrial uses, and multifamily residential as well. At the time of site plan review, required buffers will be required to be maintained in accordance with our Land Development Code, Section 37.03. The property is not located within a special flood hazard area. Isolated wetland areas do appear to be present on the site. The development would be required to comply with wetlands requirements and buffers to the wetlands. In terms of public facilities, the site is approximately 450 feet south of State Road 200. Within the general vicinity, about 2.5 miles of the site, you have 3 public schools, a post office, a planned fire station, and ball fields. Access is provided via Highway 17, which is a state-maintained roadway. And at the time of site development review, specific traffic impacts or operational improvements would be addressed, and then water and sewer are available to the site. As discussed during the previous case, this also would be a site that could provide non-residential services to the growing population of the county. With that, staff does find the amendment to be consistent with policy FL.01.02C. The criteria for approval from policy FL.0104A through G is met, and staff is recommending approval of this application. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Staff is representing the applicant. Are there any questions of board of the
Question
staff
about-
at this time?
Yeah, question about buffers.
Yes, sir.
When you're trying to clean up or catch up, whatever we want to call it, with land use and zoning to be consistent with one another. And the outcome is expected to be, for example, in this case, the land use has a burden because now we have a commercial and it's got R2 inside of it.
Are you
See
talking about
the-
like adjacent to it, where
Yeah.
over here on the right-hand side, you see the residential general 2 to the south?
Yeah,
No.
well, not there, because that's not intended to change. But it's, the perception is the lot owned by the same owner maybe it is the same owner. Just before 17, there's a commercial lot at the bottom. And then right above that, there's still some R2 medium density. And you're trying to get everything wrapped around that now as commercial, right? In the comp plan.
This parcel, which is a little strangely shaped, would be entirely commercial as opposed to having this portion here in that, I don't know, beige, peach-ish color. MDR would go to commercial. So I think what you might be thinking of is that when this parcel is developed, but
that parcel right now is developed as R2, right? A multifamily.
Right, so if it was vacant and this parcel had a commercial underlying land use, you would have to be applying that vacant future land use category buffer and screening.
Yeah,
You
so,
would.
so maybe I'm asking this wrong. Because we recognize it and approve it as commercial now, there's not incompatibility between that and its current zoning.
Right, it
Even
would
though
be
it's
commercial
being
and
used as a
CI.
residential property. So shouldn't that be relieved of people who are complying with the rules of having commercial adjacent to other commercial? One's commercial intensive and and the flume matches, and then they're gonna have commercial use behind it? Or
If
shouldn't-
if it was vacant, that would be a consideration. If it's currently developed, it's, not gonna require a new buffer and screen adjacent to a property that's already developed, I guess.
Well, I've recently been through that, and a burden was placed on the person who just got their land approved, commercial.
Right,
So
this is
if-
definitely
if the
their
commercial's
choice.
adjacent to someone that's an incompatible use.
They'd then have to
And the
provide the buffer and
incompatible
screen.
use is the outdated item, even though it's already zoned commercial. There shouldn't be a buffering demand between the
Well-
parties, right?
That would involve changing the code to change that requirement. And it's something we can put in our list of items to discuss when we get past the comp plan update to the stage where we're looking at the LDC. But right now, it does make you look at
Can we put that on the list,
vacant.
please? Of all
Certainly.
things, that's an
Sure.
item I've seen occur now several times, and I think we're placing the burden on the person trying to improve property to the new standard, when in
Yep.
actuality, it's the incompatible use.
Sure, I'll be happy to add that, and it'll be interesting to see as we go through that process, which I don't want to elaborate too much on it here during this person's comp
No,
plan amendment
I just
case.
hate to see somebody's got property now, and it's commercial, it creates more value, but we're gonna impede part of the use of that property because we're putting a burden of new buffers on it, because someone else incompatible is not up to the commercial use.
Yep, I think I understand what you're
Okay.
saying. I'll
point.
definitely add that to the list. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Sure.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, just for one clarification. I guess we're seeing more and more of those types of issues brought.
Yes, that's correct. So folks have 7 months if they're within the timber to ties design overlay area that they can come in, and the department will, for no fee, handle their conflict, either rezoning or comp plan amendment. I don't know that we've seen a rezoning conflict come through yet, but we have some in our office. But plenty of folks are availing themselves of the opportunity to fix their comp plan category.
I know that we will probably never resolve all those, but do you have any projection of when all this may?
By like the end of the 7 months, how many will have gotten through? Is that your question? Yeah, hard to say. I mean, we have had, I think, about 15 come in. I think there was 60 letters sent out, but that also, it's a choice of the property owner. So they can choose to go to the transect, which we highly encourage, or they can choose to fix their mismatch. So they can do either for free for the 7-month period.
Any further questions? There are no public comment cards, no further questions from the board. The floor for tab D is now closed. If there's not any board deliberation, we'll entertain a motion to approve or deny tab B.
Mr. Chairman, based upon the record, evidence, and testimony received, I find that the plan amendment is consistent with policy FL.01.02C and policy FL.01.04A through G of the comprehensive plan, and therefore my motion is to recommend the approval of CPA 25-007.
Motion by Board Member Henson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Morris. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Floor is now open for tab C, CPA 25-010. Staff presentation at this time.
Good evening again. Elizabeth back with the Planning Department. This is the last of the three comprehensive plan amendment fixes that we have tonight. This one is CPA 25-010, which is for approximately 4.12 acres within two parcels, seeking to go from commercial to high-density residential, or HDR. Yulee Villas LTD, care of Flynn Management Corporation, are the owner and applicant. And again, Nassau County, excuse me, in Commission District 3. So the property we're looking at now is very close to the last one we looked at. This is also south of State Road 200 on the east side of US Highway 17. On the left-hand side here, you can see outlined in red the two parcels. A little bit difficult because the background is almost red, but you've got going for, let's see, it's RG1, it's remaining as RG1. I apologize, those images are reversed. So just for the left-hand side one, staying RG1, looking at the right-hand side, taking the commercial and the high-density residential. In terms of the property's criteria, consistency with the comprehensive plan, the property would promote higher density development in an area where public infrastructure is available and services are accessible. Required buffers are required to be maintained per the LDC section 37.03. The property is not located within a special flood hazard area. There is a small portion of wetlands, according to our tax maps, present on the developed site along the US Highway 17 frontage. However, that parcel in the rear does not appear to contain wetlands. That's the portion that is undeveloped at this time. This property is close by to several public facilities. It's about just about half a mile south of State Road 200. Within 2.5 miles of the site, you've got 3 public schools, post office, planned fire station, and ball fields. US 17 is a state-maintained roadway, and water and sewer are available to the site. And with the growth that we're looking at, there is a need to expand residential uses to house that anticipated population growth in the county. In terms of consistency, staff does find this amendment to be consistent with comp plan, including policy FL.01.02B. The criteria for approval is met, policy FL.01.04A through G, and staff is recommending approval of this application. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
This is another perfect example of what'll happen because this property is gonna be improved to commercial. It's got less width, so it's got a lot more constraints setback wise.
Well, this
So-
one they're seeking to go to high-density residential.
Oh, yeah.
Residential.
Oh, that is strange then. Okay.
I
I'll leave
apologize.
that
When you're
one
looking at
alone.
the image on the left, it goes with the words on the right. It's correct in the staff report, but it somehow got reversed in the presentation slides.
No further questions?
None.
There are no public comment cards, no further questions from the board. Floor is closed for tab C if there's not any board deliberation. At this time, we're entertaining a motion to approve or deny tab C.
Mr. Chair,
Based upon the record evidence and testimony received, I find that the plan amendment is consistent with policy FL.01.02B and policy FL.01.04A through G of the comprehensive plan, and therefore, my motion is to recommend approval of CPA 25-010.
Second.
Motion by Board Member Morris, second by Board Member Brantley. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Tab D is a quasi judicial hearing. Our county attorney will read the procedures for that matter for tab D.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The following item is to be heard as a quasi-judicial hearing. That is tab D, V 2025-003, Concealed Wireless Facility Height Variance. The applicant is seeking a variance pursuant to Section 5.05 to increase the maximum height of a concealed wireless facility from 150 feet to 185 feet in the OR zoning district. Charles and Ruth 4-acre Living Trust owners, Chip Flowers, a Vertical Bridge agent in District 4. A quasi-judicial hearing by state and case law is different than a regular hearing conducted by the board. However, it is less formal than a court hearing, but similar in its procedure and evidentiary matters. Applicants have the burden of demonstrating through competent substantial evidence that his or her application is consistent with the following requirements. For tab D, that is Land Development Code Section 5.05E, 1 through 7, variance review criteria. Those opposed must also demonstrate through competent substantial evidence that the application does not meet these requirements. While the board welcomes comments from all who have an interest in the proceeding, Florida law requires that the board's decision in a quasi-judicial action be supported by competent substantial evidence presented to the board during the hearing on this application. Competent substantial evidence is such evidence as a reasonable mind would accept as adequate to support a conclusion. There must be a factual basis in the record to support opinion testimony from both expert and a non-expert witness. General objections without specific evidence do not constitute competent and substantial evidence. Email communications received until the time of this meeting are part of the public record for the hearing, but are not without more competent substantial evidence. The applicant is entitled to be represented by counsel. If any applicant desires a continuance to obtain counsel, could you please make that request known at this time? Seeing none, the hearing procedures will be as follows. Staff will be sworn in to describe the applicant's request. They will have 10 minutes. The applicant may waive their presentation and rely on staff comments. If an applicant does waive their presentation, they retain the right to rebut any testimony against their application. Does the applicant wish to waive their presentation?
Yeah, we don't, the only argument, we only got one central argument.
We'll let you come up to make your argument then. The applicant or representative will have an opportunity to present their evidence or for the application, and they will have 15 minutes for that presentation. Public participants for or against the application will be sworn. They will have 3 minutes to provide that testimony and present evidence to the board. Sharing or transferring of time is not allowed. Public participants presenting evidence for or against will address the board at the podium. Any documents, photographs will be submitted to the deputy clerk. The applicant or their representative will have a max of 10 minutes for any cross-exam or rebuttal. Staff will have 5 minutes to provide their final comments. The board will then close the public hearing and discuss the application. You may ask questions of applicant, staff, or witnesses for or against the application. Any motion of the board should include whether the board member finds competent and substantial evidence in the record and/or testimony received to support the board's decision to approve or deny the agenda item. Again, the meeting is being recorded, so please no applause, outburst, or talking. If anyone has questions regarding these hearing procedures, could you ask them at this time? Being none, Mr. Chair, you may proceed.
Thank you. Board members, tab D is an ex parte disclosure. Have there been any emails, letters, site visits, and any other forms of communication concerning this tab?
No, sir.
No.
None.
Madam Clerk, would you please identify the documents to be placed into the record?
Document submitted into the record for V 2025-003, staff report, 4 pages, application for variance, 9 pages, deed, 4 pages, letter of justification, 1 page, vertical bridge photos, 3 pages, West Briceville NSB, 36 pages, West Briceville zoning presentation, 6 pages, and staff presentation, 9 pages.
Thank you. Motion to accept these documents into the record, please.
So moved.
Motion, Board Member Fending, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Board Member Flick, are we ready to vote? All those in favor of accepting these documents, please signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The floor is now open for tab D. We'll have staff presentation at this time.
I do. Stephanie Kaiser, Planning Department. If I could just- Good evening. So again, this is a request for a variance to increase the maximum height of a wireless facility by 35 feet for a max of 185 feet. Charles and Ruth 4-Acre Living Trust is the property. Chip Flowers is the agent at 1328 Clyde Lane in Commission District 4. This is the site plan that shows the proposed location of the tower with the red X. The zoning is open rural, the future land use map is ag. These are consistent with allowing a cell tower. It's fine to go there. The proposed elevation is shown here. The top of the AT&T antennas are about 180 feet. The top of the tower is 185. Height is measured to the highest point of the structure, which is the 185 feet. So there are 7 criteria of approval for a variance. The first is that special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved. There is no special condition or circumstance which is peculiar to this property that would prevent a wireless facility being built to code here. B, the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. So a tower that meets the maximum height of 150 feet can be constructed on the site. The variance is being requested because at 150 feet versus 180 feet, there's a gap in coverage. And so the request for 180 is to shrink that gap. However, this is not a result of the land itself. It is unfortunately a constraint of the technology and the equipment, not the land. The granting of the variance will not confer special privileges. Unfortunately, the granting of the variance would confer special privileges. We currently have a cell tower that's being reviewed that is meeting that 150 feet. The literal interpretation would deprive the applicant of rights enjoyed by others. And would place unnecessary and undue hardship. Again, a wireless facility that meets the code of 150 feet can be constructed on this parcel. The variance is granted is the minimum that would make possible the reasonable use of land, building, or structure. Once again, a wireless facility that meets the code of 150 feet can be constructed on this parcel. F, the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent of the ordinance and will not be detrimental to the public welfare. The granting of the variance would not be in harmony with the general intent of the ordinance, which is to ensure consistency with wireless facilities located throughout the county. And then G, the granting the variance would not exceed the density or intensity of the land use as designated by the future land use map or underlying land use. And this criterion is met because the cell tower will not increase the flume's density. So unfortunately, based on the inability to meet the majority of the criteria for the variance, staff does recommend denial.
Are there any questions from the board?
I have a bunch. I'm not sure this is the right time.
Are there questions for staff?
Staff?
For staff, yeah,
Yes.
questions for staff?
They're still an applicant, and so whenever you want to, you can ask them now, or you can ask them at the end.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay.
Applicant presentation.
Hello, I'm Chip Flowers. I'm here on behalf of the landowner in Vertical Bridge. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I do. Yeah. So we're asking for the additional 30 feet because if we don't have that, there will be a gap along County Road 119 that won't have any coverage. AT&T is already on the existing SBA site. That's a 250-foot self-support to the east. And if we're stuck at 150, then AT&T will have to look at building another additional tower to close the gap along County Road 119. The additional 30 feet will prevent that tower from having to be constructed in order to close the gap. So it'll continue the coverage through the area for first responders, the local residents, and anybody that needs that, uses that access road. So, and then on top of it, we stealth the tower and things like that, so you can't see this tower either from any of the adjacent properties. We've shown that through balloon study as well as propagation maps and stuff. So we kind of designed the site that way it would not impose on the residents in the area around them either, so. But the need is to try to close that gap, so there won't be a need for that additional tower right there along County Road 19. And that 30-foot would give us that ability.
Any questions of the applicant?
My question is, do you have what do you guys call it in that world, a line of sight analysis to show us the loss?
Yeah, we
The
have
deficit
propagation
area.
maps that we provided.
Did you present it into evidence?
Yeah, it was part of the application that we submitted.
My question would be, first of all, then, based on that, without seeing it, I didn't see it in the evidence, I guess I missed it, but couldn't you move the tower east or west or
Well, if
whatever
we
to
move to
fill
the
in that
east,
gap?
then we lose population coverage because it's so rural.
Okay,
So
that's
that's
all.
why we're positioned where you are, is because all the population is running through that area
Understand.
right there.
So in reality, 30 feet gives you a benefit.
It gives us about
That
24.
150-foot tower doesn't give
Yeah,
you. That's
we cover
basically-
about 24% more of the area.
I get that. It's just, just so you understand why we're asking the question. If I wanted to put 25 residents in,
Mhm.
1 acre, but I can only build 20 stories,
Mhm.
I can't ask to build 25 just because
No, I
if my
understand.
land doesn't fit it. That's just the way it goes.
No, I understand.
So I guess the only other question, are there any other known hardships that you could state before us as
Well,
evidence?
I mean, the
Other
only
than
thing
the-
is having to add that additional tower, to an area. So that just means you're gonna have more structures being added in order to cover that area right there. So, in the future.
I don't have any questions for you. If I could for staff, though. Thank you. Appreciate your presentation. Thank you. So I live on the south end of the island. If we approve this variance to go to 185, can my carrier on the south, the 2 carriers on the south end of the island, come back and ask to take their towers from 150 to 185 so I get better cell phone coverage?
So you can always ask. The thing with variances is that they're site-specific, and so they're based the decision should be based on the hardship of the site itself. And so granting this variance does not mean the towers on the south end of the island would be granted.
So
no.
our ordinance has an equal playing field for all carriers, 150 feet, period. And so if a carrier wants to move in or put a tower up, they got to go through the process, find a landowner, do all the things. And so we're giving, if we approve this variance, then what I'm seeing is, granted, there's a great argument for greater coverage. I mean, I remember growing up, there was a big controversy on the cell tower that they put on Stone Mountain in Georgia, because it gave a considerable advantage to that carrier over all the other carriers that were able to acquire that tower. And then they were able to charge a huge premium for the people that put the other cell carriers to put receptors and dishes on their tower. So we would be recreating the same thing, basically. So the playing field is even at 150 feet. If AT&T wants more coverage, then they have to put up more towers and link them together like everybody else does.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board or staff?
None for me, sir.
All right, there are no public comment cards. Is there any cross-examination or rebuttal? Any final comments from staff? Board questions, anyone? All right, tab D is now closed unless there's board deliberation. We'll entertain a motion for approval or denial of V 25-003.
Based upon the record, evidence, and testimony received, I find that there is not competent and substantial evidence pursuant to the Land Development Code. Section 5.05E 1 through 7 variance review criteria. And I specifically restate the 6 of the 7 not criteria met in accordance with the Land Development Code.
Motion by Board Member Flick, is there a second?
I second.
Yep.
Second by Board Member Henson. We'll move the voice vote at this time.
Board Member Henson,
Yes. To his motion.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
oh, okay, sorry. Board Member
Madam Clerk, do you
Fendig,
need clarification that this is a motion to deny the variance? Correct, yes. Okay, the last sentence, and I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but Mr. Flick in the second, you do mean to recommend denial?
Yeah, that's what I read. I find that this is not competent and substantial.
I think it just didn't get to that last
Oh,
recommendation
I'm
of
sorry.
denial.
Therefore, I recommend denial of VOB 2025.03.
Thank you, sir. Does that help, Madam Clerk? Yes, thank you. You're welcome.
Sorry about that.
no, that's okay. Board Member Fendig,
Yes.
Board Member Morris,
Yes.
Board Member Flick,
Yes.
Board Member Brantley,
Yes.
Chair Blue,
Yes. Motion carries. We'll move to board business at this time. I believe our next scheduled meeting is the 16th.
Actually, with all of the cases heard tonight, we won't have anything for September 16th, so the next date would be October 7th.
All right, next meeting is October 7th.
Mr. Chair, would it be proper to propose that we have a workshop to discuss a ordinance in the Land Development Code? If I could propose one to be studied and presented?
I believe that it would be more appropriate for you to give that information to staff. It has to be run through them. The board doesn't direct those changes. Board of County Commissioners can, staff can, but other changes would need to come from one of those.
Okay, that's, all right.
But if there is, I would encourage you to send whatever your concerns are to staff so that it
I
can
have,
be discussed.
I've just not gotten a response in 6 months, so.
There's no further board business. Declare this meeting adjourned.
Thank you, sir. Good job.
Yes, ma'am.
Pretty good.
All right, Karen, let's go west.
Go west, young lady.